Hey, my dear ones. I'm really glad you're here today because what's going on in Washington right now is one of those stories that says a lot about how our government actually works, or sometimes doesn't work at all. So grab a seat, because we're diving into the latest drama involving Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, President Trump, and the ongoing government shutdown that just won't end. So here's what happened. President Trump recently told reporters that his team has been having talks with Democrats about health care. Talks that, according to him, could lead to very good things. But almost immediately, Senator Chuck Schumer jumped online to say, that's just not true. In fact, he flatly denied that any formal discussions are happening about health care reform. And just like that, we have yet another political back and forth at the heart of a shutdown that's already dragging into its second week. Now let's unpack what's really going on here. Democrats are standing firm on one big condition. They won't agree to reopen the government unless Republicans include certain health care provisions in the funding bill. Specifically, they want to extend Affordable Care Act subsidies and reverse some of the Medicaid cuts that took effect earlier this year. To them, this isn't just about politics. It's about people who are struggling with medical bills and rising insurance costs. But Republicans, backed by President Trump, say that health care can't be part of the deal to reopen the government. Their position is simple. First, get federal workers back on the job, then talk about health care later. They argue that Democrats are holding the government hostage just to score policy wins. So, who's right here? Should Democrats tie these issues together, or should they separate them for the sake of reopening government services? It's a tough question, and honestly, it depends on how you view leverage in politics. Democrats believe this is the only way to make sure health care doesn't get pushed aside once again. But Republicans feel that shutting down the government over this issue just hurts everyday Americans. So, which side do you think is using leverage responsibly, and which side is playing political poker with people's livelihoods? In the Senate, things aren't moving much either. Lawmakers have now failed multiple times to pass a funding bill. The latest vote went 52-42 against advancing the Republican plan, falling short of the 60 votes needed. Only a few Democrats crossed the aisle, and that tells us just how deeply divided Congress really is right now. Both parties are holding their ground, and neither wants to be blamed for prolonging the shutdown. It's kind of interesting how both sides accuse each other of the exact same thing. Democrats say the White House isn't negotiating in good faith. Republicans say Democrats are using federal workers as bargaining chips. It's like watching two sides of a mirror, both convinced the other one's reflection is distorted. And that makes me wonder, do our leaders still know how to compromise? Or has Washington become so polarized that even basic governance feels impossible? At the heart of this, there's also a trust issue. Democrats don't believe Republicans will follow through on health care negotiations once the government is reopened. Republicans, on the other hand, don't trust Democrats to vote for funding if their health care demands are included. So, what happens when neither side believes the other? You end up with a government that's frozen, millions of Americans in limbo, and no clear path forward. And the optics of all this are powerful. Democrats want to frame Republicans as ignoring the health care struggles of ordinary Americans. Republicans want to paint Democrats as reckless for keeping the government shut down. Both sides are trying to win the public narrative, because in Washington, how something looks often matters just as much as what it actually is. Now, the big question is, how does this all end? There are a few possible scenarios. Maybe they agree to reopen the government with a short-term deal and promise to talk about health care later. Or maybe they try to pass a smaller funding bill, just enough to keep the lights on for a few weeks while talks continue. But there's also a more serious possibility that neither side backs down, and this shutdown drags on even longer, hurting more families, delaying more paychecks, and shaking more confidence in government itself. And that makes me think, when we elect leaders, we expect them to govern, not just argue. We expect them to put the public good above political games. But right now, it feels like the American people are the ones paying the price for Washington's gridlock. So let me ask you, what would you do if you were in their shoes? Would you compromise to get the government open, or would you hold your ground on principle, even if it meant prolonging the shutdown? Whatever your answer, one thing's clear: this situation is more than just about budgets and bills. It's about the bigger question of how we make decisions as a nation. Can we balance principle and practicality? Can we protect people's health care while keeping the country running? Or have we reached a point where every debate turns into a standoff? So, as Senator Schumer denies talks are happening and President Trump insists progress is being made, the truth might be somewhere in between. Maybe it's politics as usual, or maybe it's a sign that both sides are quietly trying to figure out a way forward without losing face. Either way, the coming days will tell us a lot about the kind of leadership we can expect going forward. Thanks so much for watching and hanging out with me today. I'd love to hear what you think about this whole standoff. Do you think healthcare should be part of the funding deal, or should the two issues stay separate? Drop your thoughts down below in the comments, and let's get a real discussion going. And hey, if you enjoyed this breakdown or learned something new, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps out the channel. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive into the stories shaping America right now. Until next time, stay informed, stay curious, and take care of each other.